Hey everybody, welcome to Marty Motoring. It's been a while since I made a video update on my Lexus LS 460. It's been here a couple months. I haven't had a lot of time to work on it, but in this video I'm going to show you what I've done, continuing kind of the video series that I had started. I've done 2 or 3 videos on this so far, so hopefully this will be the final one before we can drive it on the street. I got a bunch of new parts sitting right over there, so let me show you what's going on. Well, hello everybody, welcome to Marty Motoring, welcome to another video. It's a new year and I'm continuing the repairs on the LS 460. So if you've seen my channel before, you might have noticed that I've had a supercharged 350 and then I moved to the ISF. I actually ended up selling that car just because it was super fun, just not practical. Pretty small, I'm a pretty big guy. I had my fun with the IS platform and I actually sold that, built up the 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 as a kind of family vehicle, family hauler, and that's been awesome. And then I was able to move into the LS 460. This one needed some work. I kind of knew it would need something, being as high mileage as it was, or is. It has 215,000 miles now. I drove it around for a little bit and the misfire just really started bugging me. So that's why I took it all apart to do all this and kind of address the injectors and the connectors and all of that. So we moved from ISF, I have the 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪, still have it. Now we have the LS 460. So it's been a little bit of a journey the past year, kind of going away from the performance and IS stuff to kind of more of the luxury and family stuff. I do have a family, so the 𝗙𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪 is super practical and this LS is super spacious too. So if we all want to go on a trip, we could really take either vehicle. This one maybe just wasn't as maintained, or maybe a repair gone wrong. So that's what we're gonna hopefully figure out and fix by doing all these repairs. So welcome to the channel, welcome to my very messy shop space and very dusty Lexus LS. Now I got this a few months ago, had a misfire, so I started diving in. Here we can see the progress that I've made so far. In the last video, I got the intake manifold off, I showed the injectors, taking them out. I had a couple questions, a couple issues, figured things out along the way. So these are actually used OEM low mileage ones. Because each one of these is about $300 to $400 a piece OEM, and I wasn't gonna replace them all when this was the only one that was bad. So they're marked brown. So you can see there's a bunch of brown bands on each side. This is for the passenger side. I actually ordered a whole fuel rail and I just popped one of my other injectors in and we're gonna put it back together. Now, I did have this in earlier. I don't think I tightened things correctly and I had to replace some O-rings on here. And there was a fuel leak, so kind of went back to step 1 and these should be good now. Used some super lube to put these in with the new O-rings, so nothing should be bent or anything like that. So that's kind of an update where I'm at. I actually had this pretty much together and I ran it, found the fuel leak, had to take everything back apart. So this time I'm kind of, that was a little bit of a test, but now I'm doing it the proper way. So we have the seal packing, and I'll tell you about that in a second. That's actually for this. This is the valley plate. So I have to clean this thing because you don't want dirt in your coolant, but this is the valley plate. It's a heat exchanger is really what it's called, but it's kind of known as the valley plate. It sits right there in the valley of the engine, the V8, and it has coolant run underneath it. Now this seal starts to break down over time, which mine wasn't bad, but it looked a little crusty. So I said, while I'm in here, let me replace it. If this goes bad, coolant starts leaking everywhere. And then of course we have the driver's side fuel rail. These injectors don't look too bad. I didn't really have too many problems with as far as breaking. I think I broke 2 of them on this side and 2 on this side because they were so brittle. So I just ordered OEM ones that looked decently clean. They seemed to work when I did test them. There was just a leak on this side. So hopefully we can put all that back together and this won't be a crazy expensive fix. This is something I had to do either way. So what we're gonna do today is take this plastic off I covered everything with. And there we go. You can kind of see the valley plate. This is what was underneath the plate. There's a ton of coolant in there usually. And that's what I'm gonna be resealing with this seal packing. This thing was like $80. It's kind of insane. There's other stuff you could use, but I figured let me use the OEM stuff just so that this is not gonna give me issues down the road. It's gonna be a lot of problem-free miles, hopefully, when everything's back in here and working correctly. I wish I could afford to do new ones. It just would be like $3,000 to do all this. And I think I paid maybe $400 for all the different injectors used. I have about $400 into that. I have $80 into this. And with other gaskets and all that stuff, probably a couple other $100. And I'm gonna show you those new parts in a second. And you know, so I'm probably into this about $600–700. That's a lot better than the quote I got from Lexus for $7,000 plus. So that's a little bit of an update of where I am. Let me show you all the parts that I have off, and then also what I ordered to make this thing work. So the biggest part that I have off the car is the intake manifold, as you've probably seen in other videos. I did get a new throttle body gasket as well as intake manifold gaskets, so those are fresh. So that should be nice. I have the harness out this time. This is the injector harness. These usually break as well because they get so brittle, like the injector plugs itself. So it's just a lot of brittle plastic in here. It's kind of an interesting design. This is the pipe that goes between the fuel rails. So here is like, it's kind of like a PCV breather type thing. I don't know the exact name, but it holds the PCV valve, right? So when I was installing this, I realized it was cracked. I super glued it. I don't think there's a leak, but I said, you know what? A new one's only like 40 bucks. Let me just order it. So I actually have a new one of these right over there. And we're gonna take this fresh PCV valve out, put it in the other one. And then we have one of the fuel rail hoses. There's a lot of bolts, all the air intake stuff, all the PCV hoses. Some of them are a little hard, but they survived. This one did not survive, so I had to order a new one of that as well. We have the 4 knock sensors that are in the valley area, the 2 injector drivers, front and back. That's how I have them laid out. This, I actually had to buy a new one. This is the new one. I broke the nozzle on the original one. It was just so brittle. So ordered this from Rock Auto. That was like 50 bucks. We have all the intake manifold bolts. And then of course, this was another like 70 bucks. Kind of forgot about this. All this plastic broke, the original one, when I was taking it off of here. So this kind of, everything sits in there. And I had it on before, so I know I can do it. So I'll do it again, but this is kind of like the last step. So this goes between the valley plate, heat exchanger plate, and the water pump. It goes right kind of in there. But it needed new O-rings. So when you take it out, you're not supposed to reuse the O-rings. So I had to order 2 new O-rings, which made this a whole nother week of waiting for parts. So that's where we are. Now let me show you the new parts. Some people think I'm crazy for doing this, but it's just kind of what happens on a higher mileage car. This is such a nice car. It just would be a shame to leave it broken without kind of enjoying it. And, you know, say I do get rid of it down the road, at least I have peace of mind selling it to somebody knowing everything was done properly and I took my time. I would hate to sell somebody a broken car, kind of like how I was sold a broken car. I would hate for somebody else to go through that and then spend $7 grand at the dealer. It just kind of would be ridiculous. But everything else in this car is in pretty good shape, which is why I'm actually putting this effort into it. Sometimes things just happen, so it's kind of whatever. I'm in it now. Here's the PCV line, one of them, the breather lines that, fuel vapor hose. I didn't know that's what it was called, but that's new, nice and fresh. So this is what I ordered online, and it took a little while to come. But it was the best price I could find. This is from Discount Parts Monster. So I think it's just a dealership that has really cheap prices, but Discount Parts Monster, you can get all these parts you need for OEM, and the cheapest I found them. Rock Auto has some of this stuff, but wanted to go OEM. So you can see, I showed you earlier, PCV goes in there, got all the bolt holes, nice and new, Toyota right on there. Everything looks good there. Then I also got the new PCV ventilation hose because the other one was so hard and it kind of kept slipping off. So I figured that was cheap enough to grab it. I have this oil separation gasket, and that kind of goes here, I believe. I have to change that out. I haven't changed that out before, but it said it was a part that should be replaced, so it was cheap enough to where I can grab it. And then we have the 2 O-rings for the pipe that goes to the water pump from the belly plates. So I know it's a lot to figure out and remember, and maybe you don't know the anatomy of this car, and I've been in it a lot now, so I kind of know where everything goes, but I'll just try to show you that in the video. But now that you're caught up, let's dive in and let me show you what we're working with here. So the next step for me is actually to get this heat exchanger / valley plate back in, just so that's sealed up, and then I can do the injectors and stuff. This is apparently the newer seal packing. It's supposed to not fail as soon or something like that. I'm not really sure, but we're gonna read the instructions real quick and then get to work on that. But before I do that, I'm gonna have to make sure this is kind of cleaned up and get the new O-rings on it. This might not be the best tutorial. I'm just gonna put this on. Okay, and hopefully it won't roll, is what everybody's worried about. Because then you'd have another coolant leak in a different spot if this does roll. This is just aluminum, so it gets pretty scratched up, and I don't want to cause a leak anywhere. I think I got that. That looks good from over here. It looks solid. It kind of feels like it did before. If I pull out, it's not coming out. So here it is, seal packing. All right, everything now is torqued to 15 foot-pounds. I hope it doesn't leak, but it looks pretty good. It looks kind of like how it did before, with a nice edge to it, and everything's torqued down, so I'm hoping we'll be okay. All right, now that the valley plate should be good, we have to get this old one out. Well, this is the new one. Knock sensors are in. Now we can put this. Well, it's been interesting putting this back together. Got a lot of scratches and grease on me, but it's coming back together. You can see everything's almost hooked up. Yeah, gonna try to put this back together and hopefully it all works. Almost ready for a fuel pressure check. For me, it'll probably be a couple of days, but for you, it'll be right now. Well, it's the next day, and unfortunately, some bad news. I put the accessories on, which lets the fuel flow through the fuel pumps and everything like that, and the fuel rail, and I found some leaks. I had to take out the driver's side fuel rail, because that's where it was leaking. You can kind of see some of the built up fuel there that's just leaked and sat there. I'm hoping I don't break another injector connector with all this in and out. It's a little scary because that is more money. Hopefully the O-rings will fix the problem. No fuel will leak. I can put the intake manifold back on, button everything up. Here's the fuel delivery pipes. I don't know exactly what they're called, but these are the O-rings that are leaking. I have two for the driver's side just because when I ordered the other fuel rail, it came with one used. So yeah, they're all cracked. So that's gonna need to be replaced. The fuel rail doesn't look bad. I cleaned it. It looks okay. I don't think there's actually an issue with the fuel rail, but I'll double check any gaskets, O-rings, order all that stuff. And then here are the injectors themselves. You can see all these O-rings that some of them were replaced. I'm not really sure why they were leaking. It was really just the one. I think it was this one. And I can see there's a crack there. As you can see, I'm running out of donor injectors. These are ones that I did not end up using, but I tried to use the O-rings and stuff like that. So I have 2 for the passenger side if I break them, but I do not have any more for the driver's side, which are the black mark versus the brown. So yeah, let's hope all of this works out. With all that said, I'm sorry the car couldn't start up this video if that's what you were hoping for. I didn't mean to lead anybody on there, but this is kind of the reality of the situation when you are working on stuff like this. I mean, things are not always going to go perfect, and just trying to fix every problem as it comes up. And I'm kind of learning a lot along the way though. So if you've enjoyed this video, you found it helpful, you liked what you saw, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, especially if you want to follow along with more videos on this thing. If you hit subscribe, it just helps the channel. You can also go back and browse the old videos, kind of get caught up on this if this is the first video you're seeing. You can also follow me on Instagram at Marty Motoring. I'm always posting updates on there as well. I want to say thank you for watching, and as always, keep those wheels turning.